morning, Jeremy.
Good morning, Sophie.
Welcome to ENL.
Thank you very much.
You will be hosting a session with members of leadership teams of ENL, Rogers and Beachcomber about gender equity and allyship. Could you tell us what is allyship?
Yeah, so it's a term that is being used more and more, but I think it's still little understood. Effectively, allyship is, the way I see it, it's using your power and influence to help others and to give some of the privilege you have in support of helping raise others up. It's an inherently altruistic thing to do, but it's also about creating more positivity and more equity in society as well.
You're talking to male leaders about allyship for gender equity. Why should male leaders care?
That's a great question. Well, I think there's a number of reasons. One is the fact that once men understand some of the barriers that women face, I like to think that they'd want to help them overcome some of those barriers. There are inherently a lot of barriers that women face in the workplace and in society and at home. A lot of men just aren't aware of what those are. Once they are, I think they can make a change. But I think the gender inequities impact men as well. There are so many ways that men are impacted by, so for example, men aren't supposed to show their feelings. They're not supposed to be vulnerable and to show emotion. And that means that we keep a lot of things in. That it's far better to kind of express. So men's mental health around the world is a real challenge. So men should care about this because it's not just about caring about women, it's caring about other men and it's about caring about humanity.
You said recently that you thought you were a good man.
Yeah.
What was the eye-opener for you?
Now, I spent 27 years working for a large corporate organisation. I led teams in the UK and in Africa, and it was a real privilege. And I genuinely thought that I was fair, and I understood some of the challenges and issues that women face, and obviously I understand men because I am one. And so I thought I was doing the best I could with the information I had. But then something happened about 3 years ago when a woman was killed in the UK. It was very tragic, and there was a real outcry and outpouring of emotion from women about we're never safe. And I had a lot of empathy for that. And I said to a female friend of mine, what can I do to be a better male ally? And she said, read 2 books. And the 2 books were Everyday Sexism by Laura Bates and Invisible Women by Caroline Criado Perez. And I read them both, and I know sexism exists, and I know that there are data biases that impact women because a lot of the world is designed by men and for men. One of the things in Caroline Criado Perez's book which fascinated me is that women are 47% more likely to suffer a serious injury in a road traffic accident than men, because all of the safety features in cars, even today, are designed around the male body. Exactly.
Wow.
So it's things like that I just opened my eyes. And so having read both books, I thought, I now know better. I understand these things better. It made me want to read more books and watch more TED Talks and listen to podcasts. And most importantly, speak to women. So I spoke to lots and lots of women. So in your experience, what happened in the workplace? Did this kind of stuff happen? And they would say, yes, all the time. And I was like, I didn't realise. I didn't realise. And so I used to think I was a good guy because I was doing the best I could, but now I know better, so I'm trying to do better.
Thank you for that. In the corporate world, what should be the end game when we talk about gender equity? Is it equal salary? Is it equal opportunities?
Yeah.
What should we strive for?
I love the idea of having an end game. I think we just have to be realistic that we're looking at many, many years before we get to that. If you ask the World Economic Forum, they'll say we're 136 years away from achieving gender equity. Now, part of my work and the work we're doing here is to close that gap significantly. But I think there's a number of steps on the way. So yes, of course, things like pay equity, people being paid the same thing for doing the same job, being paid fairly, really, we shouldn't be debating that. That should just happen. That's a quick step that should be taking place. The more important things, I think, is that we create an environment where everyone has equal access to opportunities, whatever our differences, whether it's gender, whether it's race, disability, whatever it might be, that we all have access to the opportunities that are available in the workplace and in society. That, for me, should be the end game. And I think it has to come from a place of people just understanding each other better and realising that it's not a case of there's a certain size of pie, and then if you're going to be doing something nice to someone else, you're doing allyship, you're giving some of your pie away. It's not. That's zero-sum thinking. The pie is infinite, And when you do something for a disadvantaged group and you create more opportunities for them, it creates more opportunities for everyone. I mean, think of flexible working. Flexible working is something we said we've really got to help mothers to be able to raise their children but still work and be productive. We've got to help them. So flexible working is an obvious way you can do more of that. That helps men as well. Just as lobbying for better maternity leave, we should be doing the same for paternity leave so that men can play an active part in raising their children, but also normalise the fact that it's not just the women that do the child caring and you know, the unpaid work that takes place. For me, the end game is that we create a much fairer society, and there's a number of different ways that you can get there. Things like closing the gender pay gap is an obvious one that just should be done fairly quickly. I would love to see more female representation in governments, in society and in workplaces. I think that would make the world a much, much better place.
To get there, I see two different work streams. One on women empowerment,
yep,
giving them the means, the ambition to fulfill their dreams. And the other one is creating the right environment for them to thrive.
100%, yeah.
Which one should come first?
If I had to choose one, it would definitely be creating the environment. What I see we've been doing for many, many years, and I've been involved in and I've sponsored and I've championed female empowerment programs because they're always brilliant. I don't know a single woman that's been on one of those that hasn't come away feeling just with more confidence, more self-awareness and belief in themselves. They can go out into the world and fulfill their careers. But then we throw them back into the same environment that doesn't get the best out of them. So what we end up doing is fixing the women, and women actually don't need fixing. There's nothing wrong with women. We need to fix the environment. So I would say fix the environment first. You can do both alongside each other. The problem is if you just simply do the female empowerment programs, what happens is you will absolutely lead to women having better careers, but mostly in other organisations, because they'll come back and think, oh, well, I'm better than this, and they'll go somewhere else where they're more appreciated. And that's what I've seen happen so many times in my corporate career. So fixing the environment is the more challenging thing. It'll take longer, but it will make a seismic difference to your organisation.
Thank you so much, Jeremy.
My pleasure.
It was very enlightening, and we'll continue the journey together, hopefully.
Look forward to it, Sophie. Thanks again.
Goodbye.